Hey guys, this is Tauna, and today we're going to be talking about some reprints, some stuff that is really cheap at the moment that I think you guys should be picking up from the Duskmourn commander sets. These are mostly coming from the Duskmourn commander sets because that is essentially what's kind of prompted towards a lot of these cards kind of tanking down in price. With each new commander set comes some nice reprints, and they've been doing some really great reprints in each of the sets. Typically, some nice kind of stapley kind of cards, which is really good stuff. That's going to, it's kind of like if you remembered back with Call of Mana. In Call of Mana, they did some amazing reprints in those decks, and I think that this was up there as one of the ones that's kind of had some amazing reprints in it. So obviously, Duskmourn isn't an exception to this, and we're going to be talking about Duskmourn at the moment. Now, I've taken the TCG player market price for these to show you guys as to how much they've kind of reduced down. Obviously, if you go over there, it might not be showing you that price right this second because this is as of me recording this video, and this is aimed towards like stapley cards that were more expensive before, to show you off how much they've kind of gone down. Now, while these are cheap at the moment, that doesn't mean they're going to stay cheap. Now, if you've got a huge staple card getting reprinted in a precon, when the precon comes out and stuff, it's going to go down, but that doesn't mean it will stay down. So just kind of keep that in mind. I've also included some bonus ones in here that aren't from the precons that I want to talk about quickly too. So let's start off with just saying, like, if you want to support the channel, head on down. You can grab these from TCG Player, and you'll also be supporting the channel. I'll put the link to that down in the comments. So we'll start off with Vial Smasher. So Vial Smasher obviously is an insanely great card in any deck that is, Rakdos and going to be focused around like burn and stuff. If you're casting, big spells or casting spells on other people's turns as well is great. Just Rakdos kind of spell slingery stuff. You can also partner him up. Obviously, I think that one of the things that people typically kind of partner him up with, like Sakashima, I think it is, and then those two together just are an absolute kind of powerhouse. He was formerly $12. I think it was only printed in like Commander Legends or something, and now he's dropped down to 85 cents. A great card to pick up if you're going to be doing anything with Rakdos plus Spellslinger. If you go up to Grixis, it's a great card. We've got AC Tyrant of Gear straight. This one is like, this was the biggest reprint of the whole set. It is still sitting at $6.71. Don't forget, like, this is even the like reprinted version is still relatively expensive just because of how strong it is. But formerly it was only $40. Like, it was $40 because it was only printed back in, I think it was Kaldheim Commander. So this is a great card. Lets you play extra lands. Lets you, draw cards whenever a land enters. A crazy great card, and yeah, still relatively expensive depending on what your budget is, but a whole lot cheaper than previously. We've got Professor Onyx. So she was $10. She's down to $1.31. So there is a lot of different uses for her, whether you're doing graveyard stuff, whether you're doing like a black Spellslinger or black plus Spellslinger. I actually think that this would be great in like a Grixis Doctor Who deck. So if you take the 12th Doctor, right? Yeah, 12th Doctor, and then you add in Clara, then this would be crazy in that, because you're going to make people lose so much life because he demonstrates, and then that means that you're going to get 2 procs each time you cast an instant or sorcery. You could do a really great Grixis deck with that. But overall, she's just great in a lot of different decks, whether it's, look, she could do graveyard stuff by chucking stuff into your graveyard, making opponents sacrifice. So like a Tigrid deck or something like that, even the discard, like all of this is really great. I personally think that the top bit's her most powerful kind of thing just because of how useful that is, but like you can make use of all this stuff really easily. We've got the Whip of Arabos, a huge staple for any kind of reanimate kind of deck, as well as just giving everything lifelink. Oh man, that's really strong. So it's also an enchantment as well, which, it's, I think I should probably add this into my, Amanatu deck, my Amanatu, Miracle deck. So I forgot about the fact that it's an enchantment as well, an artifact. So yeah, you've got a lot of great stuff in here, whether it's the fact that, it's only costing 4, it's an enchantment and an artifact. It gives everything lifelink. And then also you can return things from the graveyard as well with it. Really great card. We've got Titania, Nature's Force. So if you've got like a deck that is, whether it's like a self-mill deck, so like the Yuma deck, not going to work really well in the Yuma deck because it's only forests you can play from your graveyard. But like if you've got like a elemental deck, it's going to work well in, like just a green deck that's going to be based around just landfall. I guess it's going to work well in any landfall deck, to be honest. Preferably one that's self-milling, but there's just a lot of different uses for it. And yeah, it's dropped down like, you know, a lot. We've got Dryad Arbor. So this one here is actually really nice because of the fact that it is a land creature. Just straight out the bat, you know, you've got a lot of different uses for that. It's dropped down a whole bunch. So if you've got a landfall deck, you can make use of it there. If you've got like decks that are based around creatures tapping and stuff, you can make use of it there. Lots of great ways to make use of it. Now, Jumpscare, make sure you subscribe. This could be the last video you see from me, but who knows? This is obviously, you know, this is my job. And if you just want to support me for free, feel free to subscribe, you know, share the video around, all that kind of stuff. Next, we've got Cataract Parasite. Now, Cataract was mostly expensive just because of how long it had been since a reprint. I think off the top of my head, I think it would have been, what is it? The original reprint was Conflux, and then it had like a list reprint. So quite a while since it had been kind of reprinted there. But, you know, it's dropped down a lot thanks to this. There's a lot of uses on it. Obviously, you know, you need to be in like a Rakdos deck or somehow get a red permanent. But overall, just being able to deal damage to people whenever they draw cards. A lot of uses there, a lot of uses, especially like because if you've got red anyway, you've got so many wheels there, just like, you know, just wheel them constantly and make them take so much damage. Like a smaller kind of shield red kind of thing. We've got Extravagant Replication. This is probably the one that I like the most, the fact that it's dropped down. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of another target non-land permanent you control. So you just get to create tokens each upkeep, especially if you've got, like, what's her face? The Obika from Obika? Yeah, from OTJ. With additional upkeeps, oh man, you're going to create so many tokens from this. And as I said, like, this has dropped down a bunch, $10 down to $2.31. Hall of Helots. Yeah, any enchantment deck, right? Like whether it's actually going to be utilizing the graveyard or not, people could remove your enchantments. This just gets you one of them back to the top of your library. Obviously, it works insanely well in the Aminatu deck because of the fact that you want to then miracle enchantments off the top of your deck. But in any kind of deck, like especially an auras-based deck, right? Like an auras-based deck, this is really strong because of the fact that if the creature dies with the auras, then they go into the graveyard. Or so you could just do so much stuff with this. And at the moment, you know, it's more than half off. We've got Mogus, God of Slaughter. This is another one that's just dropped down so much. A burn deck will make use of this, or a deck that's based around sacrifice, so like Jury or something like that. Anything that makes, you know, people, if they are making use of the fact that they're sacrificing the creatures, right? And the fact that he's not a creature unless you've got enough devotion means that if you get him out early enough, then he's not even going to be a creature, so they can't like use removal on him, like exile him or anything. He's also got his indestructible. He's a great card, really, really nice art for it too, and drop down like so much. We've got Ashaya, Soul of the Wild. Wow. Really, really useful. In so many different land decks, whether it's landfall, whether it's other stuff, just turning your creatures into lands just makes it so landfall is just, wow, insane. Now, the last couple bonus ones here, we're going to talk about these three here. So obviously these were banned by the Commander Rules Committee prior to them dissolving themselves. However, with the new thing that that Wizards is working on with the power system and stuff, the brackets, there is potential that these get unbanned, right? There is a potential these get unbanned. Apparently, according to the command zone, Wizards didn't even want them banned. A whole bunch of the people on the Commander Advisory Group didn't want them banned as well. So there is potential to unban them. One of my friends brought up the fact that would kind of be undoing the thing that ended up getting them threats and stuff, and kind of makes it so that those people who threaten the Rules Council won't win, which I kind of agree with, but I don't think that that's outside of the realm of possibility that do end up kind of unbanning these. However, if they do unban them, just keep in mind they're going to spike up a whole bunch. So this would be a huge gamble to get one of these, because you're gambling on the fact that they're going to unban them. But just keep in mind that like Jeweled Lotus at the moment is essentially useless. You could potentially pick them up relatively cheap, and worst case, you hold on to them. Best case, they go really well, and now you pick them up cheap, and now you can put them back into your decks. The other thing is that they also talk about unbanning other stuff, or at least, looking at the bans list, which means that older cards that nowadays aren't quite as strong could potentially see some unbanning. Coalition Victory has actually already spiked up. It was 30 cents or something like that. It's up to 70 cents now, which is obviously a minor spike. But once they announce that this gets unbanned, boom, that's going to spike up a lot. So just kind of keep that in mind. Obviously, you'd also be gambling on these. You're gambling on the fact that they would unban them. And these are just two examples. Look at the bans list. I've got a video on what I think could be unbanned. And Primeval Titan here, potential unban too. Like, there's a lot that they could potentially unban. You'd be gambling to get them. But at the moment, they are relatively cheap, or some of them are relatively cheap. So just kind of, if you want to pick up a Coalition Victory for 60 cents and then be like, okay, now it's unbanned, boom, now it's up to $10 and I've got it for my deck, you can do that. So what are you guys thinking? Is there any of these singles that you're picking up, or anything that's kind of gone down in price recently that you're picking up? I'd love to hear that. Have a great day and goodbye.